Hi folks, I just want to say before we get started, this video is way longer than my previous ones, so as we've got 4 months of pay talks to take you through. So I would definitely recommend you pause it here and go and get yourself a cuppa and get comfy. Right, so if you're all back, I'll get started. As you know, we've been in pay talks for several months and we've an improved offer now on the back of the one we previously rejected. We're now balloting you on an 11% pay rise and a one-off payment of £1,000. We know EAL wish this to be accepted and we would have loved to have come to you with a recommendation to guide you on how to vote. But there has been a few setbacks in us being able to do this. We know this offer is higher than other pay rises you may have seen before from your employer, and I would love to say it was completely down to the employer's generosity, but it has not come without hard work. Our hard work entails a lot of research. We look at inflation, real costs and the rises our members have to spend when they're paying for things. We compare similar employers' pay and we review their financial accounts, including looking at what percentage of their profits are reinvested in their staff. Staff who they've called their most valuable asset when they needed your support to get through the pandemic. I know many of you made sacrifices to make that possible, and this current offer wouldn't remedy those losses, and that's why we went in with a substantial ask with your pay claim. You told us via the pay survey your expectations for 2023 would be between 12 and 15%. We know to achieve that we had to aim high, and we submitted a claim for RPI plus 10% to set our first anchor point. You all know how negotiations work. We aim high, they aim low, and we meet somewhere in the middle. So just as management were as shocked as where we started, we were as equally shocked when they started at 5% and £750. At our very first meeting in what we believed to be a meaningful negotiation process, EAL also had letters in the mailroom ready to go to you with this offer before we had even negotiated with them or relayed your demands. They withdrew those letters when we objected to them. Negotiations then continued and we were offered 8% and £1,000, which you overwhelmingly rejected. We ran a ballot over Christmas so we would get back to the negotiating table quickly, and were frustrated when we were invited to a follow-up meeting a good few weeks later, only to be asked what we wanted. The next offer was a remodelled version of what you'd rejected the previous month, an offer of 8.75% and £750. We were firm with their demands, stipulating it would need to be at least double figures in their next offer, and had some doubts that the lower end double figures would still not be enough for some of our lowest paid workers. Some of who we've heard are experiencing real financial hardships covering the basics, feeding and clothing their families, paying their heating bills, putting fuel in the car. We don't want any worker worse off for coming to work. Pay rises should be exactly that, an improvement on your standard of living, not just stabilising your income or being worse off because your income no longer covers your outgoings, even on the tightest of budgets. We don't want any member worse off if their employer is better off from your hard work. Ahead of our last meeting, we saw CPI drop, but not RPI. We know what you need to spend your wages on is still costing you more. Food costs are around 17%, and we know even with a drop in inflation, those prices don't decline, they just don't rise by as much next month. At our last meeting, EAL presented us with an offer of 10.6, but had removed the £1,000, which to be fair was because we had told them that a consolidated offer is always better for our members. But again, this would still be within a similar band of cost for them as the previous deal. We had really hoped they would have come back, having dug a bit deeper and put more on the table. There was a real intention that day from both sides to get the deal done. There were a good few adjournments and real deliberation, and we hesitantly agreed that our bottom line, even with a chance of recommendation, would need to be 11% and the £1,000 back on the table. This wasn't an easy decision to make. We weren't sure if it would meet your expectations. the 12 and 15%, but we were close. So there was quite a bit of debate between our reps group and even with Prospect, who predominantly are on higher wages, and we know it's worth more. So they were keen to recommend. We had to remain mindful of who our members are and what this equates to in the lower grades. We believe by being really honest and direct with them, it could be no less than what Unite and Prospect both agreed would get a recommendation, the 11% and £1,000. I cannot express the deep disappointment and anger that we felt when, after they had took an exceptionally long adjournment, reappearing only 5 minutes towards the end of the meeting, that they'd risked our recommendation. They came back with £750 for the non-consolidated payment. Unite at that point stated the meeting was over for us. They had our very bottom line and they tried to cut us down over a couple of bob. And on a one-off payment, something they don't even have to build into the ongoing costs for next year. We weren't going to sit there with our hands out, please sir, can I have some more? We'd given them a chance to close this deal. We know your worth, we know your strengths and how much effort you've all put into getting organised again. You hold the power, even if they hold the purse strings. It was surprising, or was it, how quickly they then managed to find those extra pennies, the ones they would have rather given the shareholders than you. As within 40 minutes of walking out, they emailed us to say they now had the extra 250. And that's if it's even that much to them, as the one-off payment's pro rata, so it's not worth £1,000 to everyone. So you might be wondering why, if we were going to recommend it at the level they're now offering, why we're putting that to a neutral ballot. Well, that's easily explained. We've lost respect, trust and confidence in them in the process. From the initial meeting where it felt like we were being told what to ballot you on, but without meaningful negotiation, albeit we put a stop to those letters, to knowing they've been clearly able to afford the 11 and 1, but chose profits over people, to another issue we have currently ongoing where they won't share their projected turnover or profits with us. This has also been why it's taken so long from that meeting until now to table the offer to you, and why you probably all heard about the offer before we even communicated it. This again is an example of how hard we were still working to conclude negotiations amicably, reinstate some trust and negotiate and improve the offer. I went back to management and expressed our disappointment amongst the reps over their actions and offered an olive branch again, suggesting if they improved it to 12 and 1, then we would get a ballot out recommending it. They refused our offer. On that basis, it was important that we got receipt of their projected turnover and profit to weigh up if 11 and 1 was really their best offer. An average business should spend around 30% of their staffing costs. We wanted to calculate what 11 and 1 looked like against their financial situation to work out whether it was fair or not. How can you make an informed choice without those facts? And how could we form an opinion to advise you how to vote without these? In the absence of this info, we had no choice but to remain neutral. I've been told it's commercially sensitive data. This is data that will be available for you all to see on Companies House very soon. Again, not best pleased and frustrated that all my attempts to resolve this amicably were not being viewed as an olive branch by the employer. I commented that I found it funny that this sensitive data doesn't seem so sensitive when they want to plead poverty, when they wanted you to support the business with cuts and changes. They were happy to share projected losses. I'm also really concerned that they're potentially breaching Section 181 of the Trade Union Labour Relations Act, where it details the general duty of employers to disclose information. I won't bore you with the legal jargon of that clause, but I can send it on to a link to any fellow employment law geeks. But the gist of it is that information should be provided if it's necessary for collective bargaining, and to withhold it would hinder collective bargaining and to be in accordance with good industrial relations practice. We can raise a formal complaint with the CAC against them over this, and they will be aware of it. So again, it only emphasises a loss in trust and confidence we have in them negotiating with us fairly when they can't even comply with the rules. So whilst it may not sound like I'm being neutral telling you about those issues, I feel it's only fair you know the whole story from our perspective and why we've put it over to you to decide. Our worst fears as reps is that we let you down or misinform you. We're concerned that if we now recommend it without the facts, no sooner is the money in your bank than their accounts are published and it becomes apparent they could have easily afforded more and still nowhere near the 30% of their profits which we would have liked to have delivered. Our earlier research on previous accounts told us it would take a 12.5 increase to even meet around the 25% mark. If we didn't do our research and present the facts and figures, we would have been leading you blind. We would have let you down if there was more to give. We're in there to get you what you deserve and still within reason of what they can afford. Don't forget, we still need the business to be sustainable, to be a successful profit-making organisation. We're not trying to fleece them. We're just trying to make sure you get a fair share of those profits. I know EAL won't be best pleased with this narrative, but I truly believe we've given them plenty of opportunity to get a recommendation. I'd have loved to have been coming to you with a ballot in full confidence that this was their best offer and not to have had to share the frustrations of this process so publicly. Your reps and I represent you. We're your collective voice, so we will follow your lead. If you tell us this is fair for you, we will listen and feel the same sense of achievement, even if we had brought you more. As long as you're happy, we're happy. However, if you think there's more to be had and want us to continue in negotiations on your behalf, then you have to tick reject. We can go over a lot more in the members' meetings, and I appreciate there'll probably be a lot of questions and answers, so I hope you can make them along to them. They've been held Monday and Tuesday, 10 o'clock, 2 p.m. and 6 p.m. You should get a link from your local rep, but please get in touch if you've not already had this and we'll get a link sent to you. Hope to see you soon. Cheers. Bye.